Welcome back to the second session of Modern Art. Chapter 4, Dada and Surrealism Introduction. Now we come to two movements that respond to catastrophe and fundamentally changed what art could be. World War First from 1914 to 1918 shattered European civilization. It killed millions, destroyed faith in progress, revealed industrialization's capacity for mass destruction, and made it possible to believe anymore in rationality, civilization, or traditional values. The war was traumatic, so senseless, so horrific that it demanded new forms of expression. In response, artists created moments that rejected everything the establishment held as sacred. If civilization's rationality had produced mechanized slaughter, perhaps rationality itself should be questioned. If traditional values had led to such horror, perhaps all values should be destroyed and rebuilt. Dada and surrealism emerged from this crisis, creating art that was anti-rational, provocative, shocking, and profoundly challenging. Dada art as protest. Dada was born in neutral Zurich, Switzerland. During the war, refugees from various countries gathered in a nightclub called the Cabaret Voltaire and created performances, poetry, and art that were deliberately absurd, provocative, and shocking. The name Dada itself is nonsense, supposedly chosen by randomly stabbing at French-German dictionary. It's baby talk, meaningless, which was exactly the point. That it was anti-art art. It used the chains, operations, nonsense, and ready-made objects to mock conventional aesthetics and bourgeoisie's culture. That the artists performed nonsense poems, created collages from random materials and made art through chance procedures like dropping piece of paper and glowing them where they feel. They insulted audiences, violated artistic conventions, and rejected everything traditional art stood for. Why? They argued that the structure had produced World War First deserved no respect. Traditional aesthetics, with their emphasis on beauty, harmony, and eternal values, seemed obscene in the world of marginalized slaughter. Data artists wanted to destroy these aesthetics and the cultural values they represented. They were artistic revolutionaries trying to destroy bourgeoisie's culture from within. Marcel, Dutch cameraman Ray, Hannah Hodge, Tristan, Teresa, and the others created provocative works that challenged every assumption about art. Was skill necessary? No, they embraced chance, and the skill was beauty. Important to know they created deliberately ugly or absurd works. Did art require artistic materials? No, they used everyday objects. Most Now they appropriated existing images and objects. Then let's go to surrealism, art as dream. Surrealism emerged in the 1920s, channeled that as rebellious energy in a different direction, where that was destructive. Surrealism was exploratory, influenced by Sigmund Freud's psychoanalytic theories. Surrealists sought to unlock the creative power of the unconscious mind. Freud has argued that beneath conscious reality lies the unconscious realm of repressed desires, fears, and irrational impulses that shape behavior in ways we do not consciously recognize. Dreams provided access to this unconscious realm, revealing symbolic meanings through bizarre illogical imagery. The Surrealists asked, could art tap into this unconscious creativity? Could artists bypass rational control and access deeper psychological truths? Surrealists developed various techniques to access the unconscious. Automatic drawing on writing involved creating without conscious control, letting the hand move spontaneously to reveal unconscious content. Dream recording and fiction made dreams bizarre imagery the subject of art. Unexpected um, juxtapositions and placed unrelated objects together to create the unsettling of revelatory combinations like the famous surrealist description of beauty as the chance meeting of a sewing machine and an umbrella on an operating table. Artists like Salvador Dali, Brainy Magritte, Max Ernst, and John Merlo created paintings that looked like dreams, impossible scenarios, irrational combinations, symbolic imagery that suggested meaning without spelling it out. These weren't just random weird images, they were deliberate exploration of physical depths, attempts to visualize the conscious mind's symbolic language. Surrealist artists and works. Then, chapter 5, pop art and beyond introduction. Now let's jump forward to 1950s and the 1960s. By the time consumer culture dominated Western society, particularly in America and Britain, television brought mass media into every home. Advertising was everywhere. Mass production made consumer goods abundant and cheap. Celebrity culture, feed by movies and television, created new kinds of fame and image making. Pop art emerged in Britain and America, embracing rather than rejecting this commercial landscape where previous avant-garde movements had positioned themselves against bourgeoisie culture, pop art, dove into it enthusiastically, or at least ironically. Pop artists used imagery from advertising, comics, consumer products, and the mass media, blurring boundaries between high art and low culture. This was uh, this was art about the everyday world of consumer capitalism presented with bold colors, flat forms, and deadpan irony. Was it celebrating consumer culture of critiquing it, celebrating and critiquing it? Ambiguity was often intentional, refusing to take clear positions and leaving interpretation open. Andy Warhol, art as production. Andy Warhol became pop art's most iconic figure. His Campbell's South cans from 1962 featured 32 canvases, each showing a different soup variety: tomato, chicken, noodle, cream of mushroom, and so on. The paintings were flat, mechanical looking, almost indistinguishable from advertising images. They presented utterly mundane, mass produced consumer products with scale, seriousness, and gallery presentation of fine art. Was Wolf celebrating consumer culture or um, critiquing it? Both, neither. His enigmatic persona and refusal to explain his intentions made interpretation different and multiple. He famously said things like, I want to be a machine, and if you want to know all about Andy Walsh, just look at the surface of my paintings and films and me. And there I am, there nothing behind it. Wolf used mechanical reproduction techniques, silk screen printing that allowed multiple identical images, undermining traditional art's emphasis on unique handmade objects. His studio was called the factory, emphasizing industrial production over individual arts. Um, or artisanship uh, or artisanship. He created multiple portraits of celebrities like Marilyn Monroe, Elvis Presley, and Elizabeth Taylor, exploring fame, image making, and the commodification of personality. Will change ideas about artistic originality and authenticity. If art could be mechanically reproduced, what happened to the concept of the unique artwork? If subjects could be utterly banal consumer products, what happened to art's traditional emphasis on significant subjects? If the art could be detached and mechanical rather than emotionally expressive, what happened to art as personal expression? All questions, all these assumptions without providing clear answers. Roy Langston comics as fine art. Langston painted enormous canvases mimicking comic books panels complete with pen, day, dots, and speech bubbles by elevating the low commercial imagery to the scale and status of high art. He questioned the cultural hierarchies. Um, Pop art democratized both subjects and the audiences for art. Previous modern movements often seemed hematic and different. Pop art was instantly recognizable and accessible. Everyone knew what Campbell's soup looked like. Yet beneath this accessibility lay sophisticated questions about authenticity, commercialization, and art's role in a mass media society. Mass media imagery, drawing from advertising, television, magazines, and newspapers to reflect contemporary visual cultures, consumer products, elevating everyday commercial objects to the status of fine art subjects, celebrity culture, exploring fame, image making, and commodification of personality walls, Marlene Monroe portraits. Pop art's legacy extends far beyond the 1960s. Its embrace of popular culture, commercial techniques, and the mass production methods anticipated contemporary art's continued engagement with media, technology, and the consumer society. Today's artists working with photography, digital media, and appropriated imagery all owe a debt to pop art's boundary break-in approach, materials and techniques in modern art. One of modern art's greatest innovations was expanding the range of materials and techniques available to artists. Where academic art emphasized only painting and marble sculpture, modern arts emphasized um, acrylics, college assemblage, found objects, industrial materials, and experimental processes. Understanding these materials and techniques is essential both for analyzing existing networks and for creating your own modern pieces. Traditional painting media, oil paint, rich color, slow drying, allowing blending and layering. Watercolor, transparent, fluid, good for loose, spontaneous work. Gucci, opaque watercolor, matte finish, vibrant colors. Tempera, fast drying used by early modernists. Modern media, acrylic paint, fast drying, versatile, water soluble when met, spray paint even coverage, useful for stencils and street art, mixed media, combining multimedia, I mean multiple materials in one work, found objects incorporating non-art materials, data assemblage. Collage and assemblage. Collage gluing paper and other flat materials to a surface. Photo montage, combining photographic images. Assemblage, three-dimensional collage with found objects. Decoupage, decorative paper cutouts. Safety first. Essential guidelines work in well ventilated, ventilated areas, wear appropriate protective equipment, read all product labels and safety data sheets, keep solvents and toxins away from food and drink, dispose of materials properly, clean brushes and tools immediately after use, store materials safely and securely. Remember that technique serves visions. Modern artists choose materials and processes that the best express their idea. Experiment with different media helps you discover what works for your creative voice. Start with familiar materials, then gradually expand your repertoire as you gain confidence. Creating your own modern art. Now it's time to move from appreciation to creation, making your own modern artwork isn't about copying famous artists, it's about using modernist principles to express your unique vision. This process combines conceptual thinking with hands on experimentation. You'll discover that creating art deepens your understanding far beyond passive viewing. Conceptualization. Begin with idea, feeling, or question you want to explore. What interests you? What do you want to say? Modern art values personal expression, so start with something meaningful to you. Research and inspiration. Look at artwork that relates to your concept, sketch ideas, and gather visual references. Do not copy, but let these works inspire approach. Consider which movements or techniques might serve your vision. Experimentation, try different materials, techniques, and compositions. Make small studies before committing to a final piece. Embrace mistakes. They often lead to unexpected discoveries. Modern art values innovation and risk taking. Production, create your artwork, staying flexible and responding to what emerges. You may need to revise your initial concepts. As you work, trust your instincts while applying learning principles, all composition, color, and technique, reflection, and revision. Step back from your work regularly. What's working, what isn't. Be willing to make changes, something and sometimes a piece needs to sit before you can see it clearly. Critic and refinement. Share your work with others and be open to feedback. Constructive criticism helps you see your work from new perspectives, consider their insights, but ultimately trust your artistic vision. Artist statements along with your artwork. Write a brief artist statement explaining your concept process and what you hope to achieve. This helps viewers understand your intentions and develops your ability to articulate your creative thinking. Remember, every great modern artist started as a student experimenting with materials and ideas. Give your soul permission to take risks, make mistakes, and discover your unique creative voice. The modernist spirit values authenticity and innovation over perfection and conformity. Analyzing modern art, vocabulary, and concepts. To truly engage with modern art, you need appropriate vocabulary and analytic frameworks. Art criticism isn't about declaring artwork good or bad, it's about carefully observing, describing, analyzing, and interpreting what you see. Describing these skills transforms how you experience art, making museum visits richer or richer and more meaningful. The vocabulary you learn here applies not just to modern art but to visualize analysis or analysis across all media. Formal elements: line, quality, straight, curved, implied, direction, weight, shape, geometric versus organic, positive and negative space, form, three-dimensional, volume, mass, color, who, value, saturation, temperature, harmony, or contrast, texture, actual physical versus implied visual, space, depth, perspective, overlap, and scale. Principles of design: composition, overall arrangement of elements, balance, symmetrical, symmetrical, radial, emphasis, focal points, and the visual hierarchies or hierarchy. Movement, how the eye travels through the work, pattern or rhythm, repetition and vibration, unity and variety, coherence versus visual interest. Conceptual terms: abstraction, degree of departure from realistic representation, symbolism, objects, colors, representing ideas, style, distinctive manner of expression, subject matter, what is depicted, content, deeper meaning, and themes, context, historical, cultural, biographical circumstances. Four-step analysis framework. Description: what do you see? Identify formal elements, subject matter, materials, and techniques without interpretation. Analysis: how is the work organized? Examine composition, principles of design, and relationships between elements. Interpretation: what does it mean? Develop interpretations supported by visual evidence and context. Evaluation: what's your judgment? Consider the work's success in achieving its apparent goals and its significance. Practice exercise: choose a modern artwork from this course. Write a one-page analysis using the four-step framework. Focus on observation and evidence rather than personal taste. What can you discover through careful looking? These ethical tools aren't meant to reduce art to formulas. They're lenses that help you see more deeply. The more you practice observation and analysis, the more naturally these frameworks become, allowing you to engage with artwork on multiple levels simultaneously. The social and historical impact of modern art. Art doesn't exist in a vacuum. It both reflects and shapes the sites that produce it. Modern art emerged during a period of unprecedented social change, industrialization, urbanization, world wars, technological revolution, political upheaval, and the shifting cultural values. Understanding these contexts is crucial for understanding the art itself. Modern artists weren't just making pretty pictures, they were responding to, commenting on, and sometimes trying to change their worlds. 1860s to 18. 1860s to 1880s, industrial revolution, rapid urbanization and technical change disrupted traditional ways of life. Impressionists captured the modern leisure and urban scenes. Realist documented working class struggles. 19 uh 1900s to 1940s 1914, Bella's epoch, period of optimism and culture flowering before World War First. For fascism and early cubism emerged, artists experimented with form and color, be living in progress and innovation. 1914 to 1918, World War First, the devastating conflict shattered the faith in rationality and the progress that emerged as anti-art protest against civilization that produced such horror. Art became a weapon of cultural critic. 1920s to 1950s interwar period. Surrealism explored the unconscious. Social realism depicted workers and the political struggles. Art engaged with psychoanalysis, communism, fascism, and rapid social change. 1939 to 1945, World War II, Second Global Catastrophe, and the Holocaust. Many European artists fled to America. Art addressed trauma, destruction, and the questions of how to continue creating after such horrors. 1950s to 1960s, post-war period. Consumer culture, Cold War, mass media, abstract expressionism, emphasized individual gesture. Pop art engaged with commodity culture. Art reflected probability or prosperity, anxiety, and social change. Case study: Mexican moralism. Following the Mexican Revolution 1910 to 1920, the new government commissioned massive public models to educate citizens about Mexican history and the revolutionary ideals. Artists like Diego Rivera, Jose Clement Orozco, and David Alfaro created monumental works depicting indigenous heritage, colonial oppression, revolutionary struggle, and visions of just society. These models demonstrated art's power as social communication, accessible to all, not confined to galleries. They used art to shape national identity and political consciousness. Mexican realism influenced artists worldwide, proving that modern art could be both formally innovative and socially engaged. Throughout modern art history, we see this constant dialogue between art and society. Artists responded to their times while also trying to shape them. Understanding this relationship enriches our appreciation of both artworks and the periods that produced them. Modern art in museums and galleries. Museums and galleries are more than storage facilities, they're active interpreters and presenters of art. How artwork are displayed, what information accompanies them, and even which works are shown, all reflective choices that shape our understanding. Learning to navigate these spaces critically and enhance your museum experience. Today, with digital technology, you can also explore world-class collections from home, uh, though nothing quite replaces encountering artworks and person curatorial choices. Curatorials decide which artworks to discover and how to arrange them. They might organize by chronology, theme, artist, or movement. These choices tell a story, but remember, it's one possible story among many. Ask yourself what narrative is this exhibition creating? Wall labels and audio guides. This provides essential context, artist name, date, medium, sometimes interpretation. They're helpful starting points, but do not let them limit your own observations and interpretations. Look first, read second. Museum architecture and design. Gallery spaces themselves affect your experience while cube galleries create a neutral environmental emphasis in art. But this seemingly neutral space actually makes specific claims about what art is and how it should be viewed. Natural lighting, all wall colors, and room sizes all influence perception. Conservation and presentation. Museums work to preserve artwork for future generations. Conservation decisions how to clean, repair, or display fragile works, balance preservation with public access. Some works can only be displayed for limited periods to prevent damage. Major modern art museums. The Museum of Modern Art, MoMA, New York, Comprehensive Modern Art Collection, Tate, Modern London, International Modern and Contemporary Art, Central, Pompey, Du, Paris, Modern Art and Striking Architecture, then Guggenheim Museums, multiple locations with modern art focus, SFMOMA, Symphoma, San Francisco strong photography and painting collections. Visual or virtual museum resources, Google Arts, Culture High resolution images, and the virtual tours, museum websites, online collections with searchable databases, YouTube museum channels, educational videos and tours, Khan Academy, art history lessons with images, museum apps, enhanced exhibitions with additional content, assignment, museum visit. Visit a local art museum or gallery in person or virtually and spend at least 30 minutes with modern artworks. Choose one work that intrigues you. Practice the four-step analysis, describe, analyze, interpret, evaluate, write a 2 to 3 page report on your chosen artwork and your experience engaging with it, whether visiting physically or virtually. Approach museums as active rather than passive experiences. Question what you see, compare different works, follow your curiosity, and allow yourself to have genuine reactions, positive, negative, or confused. These responses are valuable starting points for deeper investigation. So we will stop here and we will continue inshallah next time, the third and the last session of modern arts. So thank you so much for watching me teaching you the second session of modern arts. Until next time, ta for now.